Once in the heart of Siam, there rose a city so dazzling that early travelers named it the Venice of the East. Ayutthaya shimmered with golden temples, canals flowing like veins of commerce, and palaces that rivaled Europe's greatest courts. Its marketplaces teemed with merchants from Persia, India, China, Japan, and Europe, all speaking different tongues, yet bound by trade. To outsiders, Ayutthaya seemed eternal, a city destined to rule the rivers of Asia forever. And yet in 1767, that brilliance was extinguished almost overnight. The Burmese invasion reduced Ayutthaya to ashes in just a few months, leaving behind ruins of red brick where golden towers once stood. The bustling canals emptied, the royal palaces collapsed, and the libraries that held centuries of knowledge went up in smoke. What had been one of the world's greatest capitals disappeared so suddenly that it seemed almost as if history itself had conspired to erase it. The questions that remain are as haunting as the ruins themselves. Where did the treasures go? Were they plundered, destroyed, or hidden beneath temple floors? Why do countless Buddhas sit headless in silent rows, as if someone sought to silence them forever? And why has Ayutthaya's memory been half erased from global history, remembered only faintly, while cities like Venice or Constantinople remain vivid in the world's imagination? This is not just a story of ruins, it is an expedition into mystery. Together we will wander through temples and marketplaces, sift through myths and chronicles, and listen to the silent testimony of statues and stones. Ayutthaya's story is not finished, for its greatest legacy may lie not in answers, but in the questions it still whispers. Welcome to the vanished Golden City. Ayutthaya, in its prime, was described as the Venice of the East. Built on an island surrounded by 3 rivers, its canals carried boats filled with rice silk and porcelain to bustling markets. Gilded temples rose above the water, their spires catching sunlight so brightly that travelers said the city glowed even at dawn. More than 400 shrines adorned with gold leaf reflected both faith and power, while palaces dazzled with lacquer and jewels. Merchants from Japan, Persia, India, and Europe crossed paths in its markets, turning Ayutthaya into one of the busiest crossroads of the world. It was a city where trade, religion, and diplomacy thrived side by side, an urban wonder that seemed destined to endure forever. But in 1767, Ayutthaya's glory ended in fire. The Burmese army laid siege to the capital, cutting off food and supplies until desperation spread inside the walls. When the final assault came, temples and palaces were set ablaze, golden roofs collapsing into ash. Monks fled with relics, civilians scattered, and centuries of chronicles burned into smoke. What had been a metropolis of 500,000 people was reduced to ruins in a matter of months. The fall of Ayutthaya was not only the destruction of a city, it was the sudden collapse of a world, leaving behind scars that still echo through the ruins today. One of the greatest mysteries of Ayutthaya lies in what disappeared. Before the invasion, foreign envoys described temples filled with golden Buddha's palaces, glittering with jewels, and libraries holding generations of Buddhist texts. After the fall, almost none of it remained. The most common explanation is plunder soldiers stripped gold leaf, severed Buddha heads for transport, and carried cartloads of treasure across the border. Yet curiously, few Burmese records or sites display wealth on such a scale, raising doubts about where it truly went. Another theory suggests the treasures were hidden before the flames reached them. Monks and locals may have buried relics in temple courtyards or sealed them inside stupas, hoping one day they would be recovered. Excavations have uncovered Buddha heads hidden beneath floors and walls, evidence that at least some valuables were concealed rather than stolen. Folklore speaks of underground chambers and lost tunnels, their entrances long forgotten. The disappearance of manuscripts adds to the mystery. Most chronicles and scriptures vanished, perhaps burned, perhaps carried away to neighboring lands. What was lost was not only wealth but memory. To this day, the treasures of Ayutthaya remain unseen, making absence itself the most haunting relic of the Golden City. European envoys who visited Ayutthaya often compared its royal palace to Versailles. and some claimed it was even more magnificent. They described grand halls lined with gold ceilings, vanishing into shadow, and courtyards designed for ceremonies of power. At night, oil lamps reflected against gilded panels, making the palace glow like sunrise held within walls. Nobles in silk embroidered with gold approached the king, while music from gongs and flutes filled the air. Today, nothing remains of that splendor but bare foundations, leaving us to wonder whether such magnificence truly surpassed Europe's greatest courts, or if it vanished so completely that it now feels like legend. Visitors to Ayutthaya now walk among endless red brick walls and towers, the golden finish long gone. Wooden roofs and lacquered panels burned in the fires of 1767, while monsoon rains and tropical humidity eroded stucco and paint. Looters stripped tiles, metals, and ornaments, leaving behind only what was too heavy or worthless to carry. Even bricks were repurposed by locals to build new homes and monasteries. What was once a dazzling city of color and shine has been reduced to its skeleton, forcing us to imagine the brilliance that once stood where only bare brick remains. Perhaps more haunting than lost palaces is the disappearance of knowledge. For a city of 500,000 people, Ayutthaya left behind almost no urban plans, construction manuals, or detailed maps. Its sophisticated canal systems remain, but the methods of water control and flood defense are undocumented. Palaces and temples were precisely aligned, yet no record explains how architects designed them or who the builders were. Unlike Angkor with inscriptions carved in stone, Ayutthaya's archives were destroyed in the fire, silencing its engineers and scribes. Even governance and administration remain vague. European envoys wrote of intricate bureaucracies and foreign diplomacy, but Siamese records that could confirm them are gone. Without maps, the layout of districts is reconstructed only from ruins and guesswork. How did such a vast empire manage trade armies and alliances? The absence of written memory is its own mystery, an invisible loss that makes Ayutthaya's ruins echo louder. Walk through Ayutthaya's ruins today, and you are surrounded by headless Buddhas. Dozens of statues line temple courtyards, their bodies intact, but their faces deliberately removed. The effect is haunting rows of silent witnesses, serene postures broken by absence. Travelers describe the sight as both tragic and mesmerizing, for the missing heads seem louder than the stone that remains. These figures embody Ayutthaya's story, majestic, wounded, and enduring, carrying in silence the memory of a civilization that collapsed in fire. Local legends whisper of a curse attached to the missing heads. Stories tell of looters who met violent ends, or collectors haunted by misfortune after taking relics from the ruins. In Thai belief, the head is sacred, the seat of wisdom, and its violation invites karmic retribution. Whether superstition or memory, the curse warns against desecrating what remains. For visitors today, the headless Buddhas feel more than broken statues. They are guardians of silence, carrying both mystery and warning across centuries. In its golden age, Ayutthaya was a city where the world converged. Ships from Japan, Persia, India, and Europe crowded its harbors, unloading silk, spices, ceramics, and silver. Markets overflowed with diversity, Persian merchants bargaining in flowing robes, Dutch traders weighing spices, Chinese artisans crafting porcelain, and Siamese nobles walking proudly through the crowds. Mosques, churches, and temples all stood side by side, reflecting a rare tolerance for multiple faiths. To foreign travelers, Ayutthaya was not merely a capital, but a living crossroads of global commerce, diplomacy, and culture, centuries ahead of its time. Among the city's many foreign residents, the Japanese stood out. Ronin samurai, displaced by Japan's shifting politics, found new lives in Ayutthaya. They served as royal guards, mercenaries, and traders, earning both fear and respect. One leader, Yamada Nagamasa, rose to high rank, commanding troops for the Siamese king and becoming a symbol of loyalty and power. Though their enclave eventually declined, the Japanese left an enduring mark-proof of Ayutthaya's ability to absorb outsiders into its heart. For all its global connections, Ayutthaya has nearly disappeared from the world's memory. Unlike Venice or Constantinople, it is seldom mentioned in history outside Southeast Asia. The city's destruction in 1767 erased its archives, while the rise of Bangkok shifted attention to a new capital. Colonial narratives later overshadowed Ayutthaya, pushing it to the margins of world history. Yet fragments remain: Japanese swords, Persian coins, Dutch maps, silent reminders that this forgotten network once tied continents together through the rivers of Siam. This narrative endures in Thai memory as the most devastating wound in the nation's history, a once glorious city swallowed by flames. Yet some scholars argue Ayutthaya's destruction was not only the work of foreign armies. In its final decades, the kingdom was shaken by palace intrigues, rapid changes of kings, and rival noble factions fighting for power. Generals withheld troops, resources were diverted into political struggles, and loyalty to family often outweighed loyalty to the throne. By the time the Burmese arrived, Ayutthaya may already have been weakened by its own disunity. Evidence suggests betrayal played a role with certain factions, possibly opening gates or refusing to defend them. Economically, wealth concentrated among elites, fueling resentment and draining the resources needed for defense. The kingdom, once a cosmopolitan powerhouse, had become a fragile shell, unable to present a united front. Seen in this light, the Burmese army was the final spark, but the true fire had been lit long before within the palace walls. So was Ayutthaya's fall caused by Burmese flames or by its own divisions? The truth remains elusive, obscured by missing archives and conflicting chronicles. Perhaps it was both: a kingdom already fractured, delivered to its enemies by weakness within. The unanswered truth gives Ayutthaya its enduring mystery. Its ruins do not tell us one story, but many: fire, betrayal, and silence woven together. These mysteries resist simple answers. They remind us that history is not always clear, that ruins speak as much through silence as through evidence. Perhaps the treasures lie hidden beneath temples. Perhaps the manuscripts still wait in undiscovered chambers. Or perhaps all has been lost forever. But the questions themselves are powerful. Were treasures hidden beneath the temples? Could Ayutthaya rise again if its secrets were rediscovered? Thank you for journeying with us into the echoes of Ayutthaya. If these mysteries stirred your imagination, share your thoughts in the comments. Which secret do you find most compelling? Don't forget to subscribe for our next exploration into the world's lost civilizations. Until then, may the ruins of Ayutthaya remind us that even in silence, history still speaks.